Hi everyone. In our last Chapter 7 video, we used the Text to Columns tool to separate text fields. In this video, we're going to use formula checking tools to see if we can spot and fix errors in formulas. Start on the formula checking worksheet in your Excel workbook, and obviously, in this loan amortization schedule, we have some serious problems. And we could go through cell by cell and see if we can figure out what's wrong. But let's see if we can shortcut that and find some problems in this worksheet by using some formula auditing tools. So on the Formulas tab in the ribbon, look for Formula Auditing section, and there's a number of tools available. We're going to start with Trace Precedence. Now, obviously, there's a problem here, starting with C10. Something went terribly wrong with this worksheet. So let's find out what our precedents are for C10 by simply highlighting that cell and click Trace Precedence. And the two cells that were used in a formula to calculate this number were B10 and B5. The problem is B5 is blank, and there would be no reason to refer to a blank cell in our formula. So that's where the problem lies. And I think I know what the problem is, but I'm going to remove those arrows and I'm going to see what the formula is here. Trace Precedence, and it refers to B4. So I think what has probably happened is that the formula that was written here did not make B4 as a fixed reference cell. So let's bring up that formula and fix it. B $4, enter, and now let's copy that down and see if that fixes column C, or at least the formulas in column C. Yeah, the formulas have been fixed. You would be tempted to say, okay, everything's fine, but if you look carefully and you know about loan amortizations, interest is calculated on the balance at the beginning of the month. And what is not applied to interest is applied to principal. So in a proper loan amortization schedule, interest should get smaller every month, and principal should get larger every month, and the balance in the loan should get smaller. If I took a look at the interest column, it looks like it gets smaller in these three, but all of a sudden this jumps back up. And there is no reason, unless a payment is late or something on that order, that a loan amortization schedule would have a larger interest in a row beneath the prior calculated interest. So we're going to trace dependence and see if we can figure out what the error was here. Let's see what happens here in B3. I'm going to highlight B3. I'm going to trace dependence, and it looks like the $400.36 is dependent upon this interest calculation, and that would be correct in that the prior principal balance minus the amount allocated to interest should be the amount allocated to principal. But that's not telling me what's wrong with this formula here. So I think I'll start out highlighting D10, and trace dependence. And this number is used to calculate the interest for period 3 and eventually the new principal balance after applying this much principal This would be the new principal balance. This number minus that number equals that number. So dependent upon the balance in D10 are these two numbers. Now let's try tracing the dependence for D11. D11, trace the dependence. Oops, the only thing that's happening here is the new principal balance is dependent upon the old one. It looks like this interest calculation is not dependent on the principal balance immediately before the application of interest for the month. So there's something wrong with this. Let's take a look at the formula for B4. And that tells us what the problem is. B4 uses the old $10,000 balance at the beginning of the period times the interest divided by 12. But interest should be calculated, monthly interest should be calculated on the balance before this month, a balance at the beginning of the month. So what we need to do is see, we could change this. We could change this to B11. But it looks like these three are calculated correctly. So what I'm going to do is take a look at the formula we have here. And this formula is D8 times the interest divided by 12. Well, that works very well, and this is not a fixed cell, so it should slide to D9, D10, D11. So I'm just going to recopy this over, because somehow the formula got changed when we got down to B12. So I'm just going to copy that over. Copy. It should be a good formula. And now we have a descending amount of interest, so it is reasonable. And if I take a look at D12, it is indeed multiplying the beginning of the month balance, principal balance, times the interest divided by 12. So we have fixed that error. But some of you may be looking at this saying, I know Costello. Costello would not like a messy schedule like this at all. And I agree, I don't like a messy schedule. You do want your loan amortization schedules to be in 2 decimals, because the bank is not going to let you get away with paying $402 or $438 when you should pay $438.71. So leave it at 2 decimals. But let's change the number format to accounting, no dollar sign. Okay, and I just think that looks so much cleaner. You could put a dollar sign here and you could have totals down here, but it's not fully amortized. I would wait on that. So that's our practice with this formula checking. I don't want to let the video go too long, so I'm going to end this video. We'll come back on video number 3 and do our formula auditing problem. So that's all for this video. I'll see you next time.